I never thought my dog's piss could turn me into a neighborhood legend, but when Max marked HOA Karen's precious fence, I found out it was 10 centimeters on my land, and I painted that strip bright pink to prove a point. Buckle up, because this is the wildest, pettiest war you'll ever hear about, and it all started with a Labrador's bladder. Before I continue the story, write a comment below. Where are you watching from? Like if you want to constantly win in any conflicts. Picture this. A sunny Saturday, me in my faded Patriots hoodie, leash in hand, and Max, my big, dopey, golden-hearted Labrador, trotting beside me like he owns the block. We're minding our business when Max stops, sniffs, and lifts his leg with the confidence of a king claiming his throne. His target? Karen Thompson's pristine, eggshell white picket fence, the HOA Queen's pride and joy. I swear, time slowed down as that golden stream hit the wood. The splash. The drip. The way her perfect paint job darkened like it was weeping. I lost it. Laughter exploded out of me, loud and unstoppable. Worst move ever. That laugh was like tossing a match into a pile of dry leaves, and Karen was about to burn the whole damn neighborhood down. She flew out of her house like a banshee in Lululemon leggings. Mike Johnson, she shrieked, her voice slicing through the air like a chainsaw. Your filthy mutt just defiled my fence. Do you have any idea what I paid for that? $500 for a custom finish, ruined by your beast. I was still chuckling, wiping a tear from my eye. Karen, he's a dog, I said, trying to keep it light. He doesn't exactly RSVP before he pees. Oh, that set her off. Her face morphed from pink to a shade of red I'd only seen on fire trucks. She jabbed a finger at me, nails glittering like tiny daggers. You think this is a joke? I'll have you fined. I'll drag you to the HOA board. She stopped, sniffing the air like a bloodhound. Is that urine I smell on my property? I glanced at Max, who was now chewing a blade of grass, totally clueless. Well, Karen, I shot back. He's not exactly hosing it down with lavender mist. She spun on her heel and stormed off, muttering about standards and disgraceful pet owners. I thought, okay, she'll cool off. Nope. That night, my phone buzzed. It was Tom, my buddy from 2 houses down, cracking up as he leaned against my doorframe with a beer in hand. Dude, he said, barely holding it together, Karen's telling everyone you trained Max to sabotage her fence. She's calling him a four-legged menace. I snorted, waving him inside. What's next? She's gonna say he's plotting her demise? Tom grinned wider. Check the HOA Facebook group. I grabbed my phone and, holy hell, there it was. Karen's post, a blurry pic of Max mid-pee, captioned, "This is the anarchy we're dealing with now." The comments were a battlefield, half the neighbors clutching their pearls with disgraceful, and the other half dropping laughing emojis and Team Max cheers. I was trending, and I hadn't even tried. But here's where the real fun begins. The next morning, something nagged at me. That fence, it always felt too close to my driveway. So I dug through my filing cabinet, found my property survey from when I moved in 3 years back, and marched outside with a tape measure. Heart pounding, I stretched it out, and bam, there it was. 10 centimeters of Karen's precious fence sat smugly on my land. I stood there, staring at that little patch of grass, and a wicked grin spread across my face. She wanted to play dirty? Oh, I'd play. I'd turn her perfect little world upside down, one petty move at a time. So there I was, standing over that 10-centimeter strip of my land, plotting the kind of revenge that'd make Karen's head explode, metaphorically, of course. Max, my trusty Labrador sidekick, had no clue he'd just handed me the ultimate weapon in this HOA war. I wasn't just gonna win. I was gonna make her regret ever knocking on my door. And trust me, when I decided to paint that strip bright pink, it was like dropping a glitter bomb on her perfect little world. If you're loving this chaos so far, hit that comment section. Tell me what you'd do to a nosy neighbor like Karen. I'll be here, cackling as I dodge her next move. After that tape measure epiphany, I didn't waste a second. I hopped in my truck, drove straight to Home Depot, and stood in the paint aisle like a kid in a candy store. I wanted something loud, something that'd scream Mike was here every time Karen peeked out her window. I grabbed a can of neon pink, the kind of color that'd make a flamingo blush, and a cheap brush. Back home, I popped the lid, dipped the brush, and went to town on that 10-centimeter strip. Each stroke felt like a middle finger to her HOA rulebook. Max sat nearby, tail thumping, probably thinking, Dad's finally lost it. By the time I stepped back, that little patch glowed like a Vegas sign, clashing gloriously with her pristine white fence. I couldn't stop grinning. Of course, Karen noticed. Oh, she noticed fast. I was barely wiping the paint off my hands when her shadow loomed over me like some suburban grim reaper. "Mike Johnson," she bellowed, hands on hips, voice dripping with venom. "What in God's name is that?" I turned, all innocence, and said, "Oh, hey, Karen. Just sprucing up my property. You know, the part your fence decided to squat on." Her eyes bulged, darting between the pink strip and me like she couldn't decide which to strangle first. This is an abomination," she sputtered. "It's against every HOA guideline. You'll hear from the board about this." I shrugged, leaning on my porch railing. "Funny thing, Karen, property lines don't care about your guidelines. Maybe check your survey next time." She stormed off again, and I figured I'd bought myself a day or two of peace. Wrong. That night, my phone lit up with texts from Tom. "Bro, she's losing it. Posted pics of your pink stripe, called it a visual assault." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my beer. Sure enough, the HOA Facebook group was a war zone again. "This is why we need stricter rules," Karen wailed in her post. Replies rolled in. "Looks kinda cool, TBH," from Jake across the street. "You're overreacting, Karen," from Lisa next door. Team Max was growing, and I was living for it. But then came Monday. I was sipping coffee on my porch when a car rolled up, some guy in a polo shirt with an HOA clipboard. "Mr. Johnson?" he asked, all business. "I'm Dave, HOA compliance officer. We've had a complaint about your, paint job." I smirked, setting my mug down. "Let me guess, Karen?" He nodded, looking pained. "She says it's a violation of aesthetic standards." I crossed my arms. "Dave, that strip's on my land. She's the one violating boundaries, literally." He sighed, scribbling notes. "I'll need to verify the survey. This might take a while." I waved him off. "Take your time, man. I'm not changing a thing." Dave left, but the real fireworks hit that afternoon. I was mowing my lawn when Karen marched over, waving a stack of papers like a battle flag. "I've got proof," she crowed. "My contractor says that fence has been there for years. Adverse possession. It's mine now." I stopped the mower, wiping sweat off my brow. "Adverse possession? Karen, you watch too much HGTV. That's not how it works." She smirked, all smug. "We'll see what the board says, Mike. Enjoy your little pink stunt while it lasts." I watched her strut away, adrenaline pumping. She thought she'd outsmarted me. Oh, honey, I was just getting started. That night, I sat on my couch, Max sprawled across my lap, and hatched phase 2. If she wanted a fight, I'd give her a spectacle she'd never forget. Karen thought she'd cornered me with her adverse possession nonsense, but I wasn't about to let her win. Not when I had Max, a paintbrush, and a neighborhood cheering me on. I decided to crank the petty up to 11. I slapped a sign on that pink strip that read, "Max's P-Zone," in bold black letters, and watching her face twist into a knot of pure rage was worth every second I spent making it. This war was getting personal, and I was loving every minute. If you're still with me, and I know you are, drop a comment below. What's the pettiest thing you've ever done to get even? I'll be refreshing the page, dodging Karen's evil eye, and soaking up your stories. After her big, "I've got proof" showdown, I knew I had to strike back fast. She'd thrown down a gauntlet with her stack of papers and smug grin, but I wasn't sweating it. I'd already checked with a buddy who's a real estate agent. Adverse possession takes years, not a couple of seasons of her fence hogging my grass. So while she was busy dreaming of victory, I was at my kitchen table, Sharpie in hand, crafting the next blow. I grabbed some leftover wood from the garage, painted it white, and scrawled Max's P-Zone across it in thick, black letters. Then I nailed it right onto that neon pink strip, staking my claim like a pirate planting a flag. Max watched me work, head tilted, probably thinking, humans are weird. I stepped back, admired my handiwork, and laughed, loud enough for Karen to hear through her open window. She didn't disappoint. I'd barely hammered the last nail when her front door flew open, and there she was, charging across the lawn like a bull seeing red, or pink, in this case. "Mike Johnson, you absolute child," she screamed, her voice hitting a pitch that made Max perk his ears. "What is that monstrosity?" I leaned against my porch railing, casual as could be. "Hey, Karen. Just marking my territory. Well, Max's, technically. You've got your fence. I've got my sign." Her hands clenched into fists, and I swear I saw steam coming out of her ears. "This is a deliberate provocation," she spat. "The HOA will tear that down faster than you can blink." I grinned wider. Good luck with that. It's on my land, survey says so. Maybe focus on moving your fence instead. She didn't have a comeback for that. Instead, she whipped out her phone, snapping pics of the sign like a paparazzi on a mission. You'll regret this, she hissed, then stomped back to her house, already typing furiously. I knew where this was going, straight to the HOA Facebook group. Sure enough, within an hour, my phone pinged with a screenshot from Tom. Karen's latest post. This is what I'm dealing with, vandalism and disrespect. Below it, a photo of my sign, the pink strip glowing like a beacon. The comments exploded. LOL, Max rules, from Jake. Karen, chill, it's hilarious, from Lisa. Even old Mrs. Peterson chimed in. I think it's cute. Team Max was thriving, and I was riding high. But Karen wasn't done. The next day, I spotted Dave, the HOA guy, back in my yard, clipboard in hand, looking more exhausted than last time. Mike, he said, rubbing his temples, she's filed 3 complaints now: paint, sign, and emotional distress. I've got your survey. You're right about the line. But she's pushing for a full board review. I shrugged, tossing Max a tennis ball. Let her try, Dave. I've got nothing to hide. He sighed, muttering something about needing a vacation, and drove off. I figured that'd slow her down. Nope. Friday rolled around, and I was grilling burgers in my backyard when Tom jogged over, eyes wide. Dude, you've got to see this. He shoved his phone in my face. Karen had escalated. She'd printed flyers, actual paper flyers, claiming I was destroying property values with my garish display. She'd been slipping them under doors all morning. I took one, read it, and burst out laughing. Emotional distress? Garish? She's unhinged. Tom nodded, cracking up too. She's calling you the pink bandit now. You're famous, man. I flipped a burger, adrenaline buzzing. Karen wanted to play dirty with flyers? Fine. I'd keep pushing her buttons until she cracked. That night, I sat on my couch, Max snoring beside me, and brainstormed. This sign was just the start. I had bigger plans, ones that'd make her wish she'd never messed with me and my dog. Karen's flyers were her big swing, but I wasn't about to let her propaganda turn the neighborhood against me, not when I had Max, a pink stripe, and a sign that was basically a local landmark now. I decided to double down with a move so bold it'd either make me a hero or the most hated guy on the block. I threw up Max's P-Zone party, right in my front yard, and half the street showed up to cheer us on. Karen's meltdown at the sight of it? Pure gold, and it's only getting better from here. If you're still riding this wild wave with me, hit that comment section. Tell me the wildest party you've ever thrown or crashed. I'll be here, flipping through your replies while Karen plots her next tantrum. After her flyer stunt, I knew I had to keep the momentum. Those papers she stuffed under doors, calling me the pink bandit, and whining about property values were her attempt to rally the HOA faithful. But I'd seen the Facebook group. I had fans. So I hatched a plan to turn this feud into a spectacle. I printed up invites on my ancient inkjet, nothing fancy, just Max's P-Zone party, Saturday, 3 p.m., Mike's yard. Bring a drink, pet the star of the show. I slipped them into mailboxes, avoiding Karen's house like the plague. Word spread fast. By Friday night, Tom was texting me. Dude, people are hyped. Jake's bringing his grill. Lisa's making dog treats for Max. I grinned, scratching Max behind the ears. You're a rock star, buddy. Saturday hit, and my yard transformed. Jake rolled up with his grill, burgers sizzling. Lisa set out a tray of homemade peanut butter biscuits that Max devoured like a king. Kids ran around, tossing a frisbee, while neighbors I barely knew showed up with beers and folding chairs. Someone even brought a Bluetooth speaker, blasting Sweet Home Alabama. And there, in the middle of it all, was the pink strip and that glorious Max's P-Zone sign, glowing like a trophy. I stood on my porch, beer in hand, watching the crowd swell 20, then 30 people, all laughing and toasting to Max, who was lapping up the attention, tail wagging like a metronome on speed. Then came Karen. I just grabbed a burger when I saw her storming across the street, face twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. The music dipped as heads turned. Mike Johnson, she bellowed, planting herself at the edge of my yard like a general facing an enemy army. What is this circus? I took a slow bite of my burger, chewing dramatically. Hey, Karen. Just a little neighborhood bonding. Want a hot dog? The crowd snickered. Her eyes narrowed, sweeping over the scene, the sign, the pink paint, the people clearly not on her side. This is a blatant violation, she snapped. Open alcohol. Noise. You're turning this street into a frat house. Jake piped up from the grill. Lighten up, Karen, have a beer. Laughter erupted, and her face went purple. She didn't back down. She whipped out her phone, filming us like she was gathering evidence for a courtroom drama. The board will hear about this, she shouted, zooming in on Max, who chose that moment to lift his leg. Yep, right on the pink strip. The crowd roared, cheering him on like he'd scored a touchdown. Karen shrieked, "You see? That mud is a menace." I stepped forward, grinning. "Nah, he's just the guest of honor. Maybe teach your fence to stay on your side next time." She glared, spun around, and marched off, still recording. The party kicked back into gear, louder than before. By Sunday, the fallout hit. Tom swung by, grinning ear to ear. She posted the video, man. Called it anarchy in broad daylight. It's got 50 comments already, most of them Team Max. I checked it myself, sure enough, the group was a battlefield again. "Best party ever," from Lisa. "Karen, you're the only menace here," from Jake. Even Dave, the HOA guy, liked a pro-Max comment, which made me cackle. But Karen wasn't done. Monday morning, I found a letter taped to my door, official HOA stationery, summoning me to a board meeting. "Violation of community standards," it read. I smirked, tossing it on the counter. She wanted a showdown? I'd bring the fight to her doorstep. I sat on my couch that night, Max sprawled across my lap, and plotted. The party had rallied my troops, but Karen was digging in. I needed something bigger, something that'd make her squirm without giving her ammo to win. The wheels were turning, and I was ready to roll. The HOA summons was Karen's checkmate move, or so she thought, but I walked into that board meeting with a surveyor's report, a smirk, and a plan to flip her whole game upside down. Max couldn't come, but his spirit was there when I dropped the truth. Her fence was illegal, and I demanded she pay to move it, right in front of her precious board. The room went dead silent, and I swear you could hear her ego crack. If you're still hooked on this saga, and I bet you are, drop a comment below. What's the boldest move you've ever pulled to win a fight? I'll be scrolling your replies, laughing as Karen's next meltdown brews. After the party, I knew the board meeting was my shot to turn this feud into a knockout. Karen had her flyers, her video, her tantrums, but I had facts. I'd spent Sunday digging through my files, triple-checking the survey, even calling my real estate buddy to confirm I was airtight. By Tuesday, I was ready. I pulled on a clean shirt, grabbed my papers, and strolled into the HOA office like I owned the place. The boardroom was a stuffy little space, 5 members in polo shirts, Karen perched at the end like a vulture, and a dozen neighbors crammed in the back, whispering. Team Max had shown up, Tom, Jake, Lisa, all grinning as I took my seat. The head guy, Bill, cleared his throat. "We're here to address complaints from Ms. Thompson regarding Mr. Johnson's property, specifically a painted strip, a sign, and a gathering." Karen jumped in, voice sharp as a knife. "It's not just that. He's harassing me, lowering our standards, and that dog," she pointed at me like I was Max incarnate, "is a public nuisance." The room buzzed. Bill raised a hand. "Mike, your response?" I leaned back, casual as ever. "Sure, Bill. Let's talk facts. Karen's fence is 10 centimeters on my land. I've got the survey right here." I slid it across the table, watching her eyes narrow. "The paint? The sign? That's my property. If anyone's breaking rules, it's her building where she doesn't belong." The board flipped through my papers, murmuring. Karen's face went from smug to sour. "That's ridiculous," she snapped. "My fence has been there for years, adverse possession." I laughed, couldn't help it. "Karen, you need 7 years for that in this state. You've got, what, 2? Nice try." Tom snorted from the back, and Jake whispered, "She's cooked." Bill adjusted his glasses, frowning at the survey. "This checks out. Ms. Thompson, did you verify your boundaries before installing?" She sputtered. "Well, I assumed my contractor said." Bill cut her off. "Assumptions don't hold up. We'll need your survey." Then I went for it. "Hold up, Bill. Since we're here, I've got a request. That fence is trespassing. I want it moved on her dime. She's got the cash for $500 paint jobs, right?" The room froze. Karen's jaw dropped, and Lisa let out a quiet, "Yes," from the back. Bill blinked. "That's a valid point. We'll review both sides." Karen exploded. "This is outrageous. He's the one with that hideous pink." Bill banged his gavel, actually banged it. "Enough. We'll deliberate and rule next week." I walked out, neighbors clapping me on the back. Tom grinned. "You just turned her into the bad guy, man." I nodded, buzzing with adrenaline. But Karen wasn't done. Wednesday morning, I caught her in her yard, measuring her fence with a tape, muttering to herself. She saw me and yelled, "This isn't over, Mike. I'll sue if I have to." I waved, all cheer. "Good luck with that, Karen. Say hi to your lawyer for me." She glared, and I knew she'd try something desperate. Thursday, the Facebook group lit up again. Karen posted, "The board's been misled by a troublemaker. I'm fighting for our values." Replies rolled in fast. "Give it up, Karen." From Jake. "Max for president." From Lisa. Even Bill liked a comment saying, "Check your own fence first." I was winning the war of words, but Friday brought a twist. Tom swung by, holding a new flyer, Karen's latest. "Legal action pending," it read. "Protect our community from vandals." I laughed, but inside, I tensed. A lawsuit? She was unhinged enough to try. I sat on my porch that night, Max at my feet, staring at that pink strip. The board could rule my way, but Karen was a wild card. I needed one last play, something to seal this for good. No lawyers required. The gears turned, and I smiled. Game on. Karen's lawsuit threat was her last desperate swing, but I wasn't about to let her drag me into court, not when I could end this with one final, glorious jab that'd leave her fuming and the neighborhood cheering. I turned that pink strip into a full-on Max's victory garden, with flowers, a bench, and a plaque. And when the HOA ruled in my favor, she had to move her fence on her dime, while I toasted with the whole block. This war's over, and I'm still grinning. You've stuck with me through this wild ride, and I'm stoked you're here for the finale. Hit that comment button, tell me how you'd celebrate a win like this, or just say Team Max to join the crew. Then subscribe, I've got more stories, and you won't want to miss M. After her legal action flyer, I knew I had to finish strong. The board's ruling was due Monday, but I wasn't waiting around. Saturday morning, I hit the nursery, loaded up on marigolds, daisies, and a little bench I'd found on clearance. Back home, I ripped out the grass on that pink strip, planted the flowers, and set the bench right where her fence used to loom. Then I hammered in a small plaque, Max's Victory Garden, established 2025. Max watched, chewing a stick, probably thinking, Dad's at it again. I stepped back, hands on hips, and admired it, a petty paradise, bright and bold, screaming I won, without saying a word. Karen spotted it Sunday. I was watering the flowers when she marched over, eyes blazing. "Mike Johnson, this is absurd," she barked. "You're mocking me." I turned, hose in hand, all calm. "Nah, Karen, just beautifying my land. HOA loves a good garden, right?" She clenched her fists, speechless for once, then stormed off. I knew she'd run to the board, but I was ready. Monday night, the ruling dropped. Tom texted me, "Board meeting just ended, check your email." I opened it, heart pounding. After review, Mr. Johnson's survey is upheld. Miss Thompson's fence encroaches and must be relocated at her expense. No violations found on Mr. Johnson's property. I hooped so loud Max barked. I grabbed a beer, called Tom, Jake, and Lisa over, and we toasted on my porch, the victory garden glowing under the sunset. Neighbors trickled out, clapping, laughing. Mrs. Peterson even brought cookies. It was a block party, unplanned and perfect. Tuesday, the real show started. Karen hired a crew to move her fence, grudgingly, I'm sure. I sat on my new bench, Max at my feet, sipping coffee as they worked. She stood in her yard, arms crossed, glaring daggers. Every time a picket came up, I raised my mug in a mock salute. The crew finished by noon, leaving her fence 5 feet back, exactly where it belonged. My garden stood proud, a neon pink middle finger to her defeat. She didn't say a word, just slunk inside. Victory tasted sweet. The Facebook group erupted. "Justice for Max," from Jake. "That garden's iconic," from Lisa. Even Dave posted, "Case closed." "Nice flowers, Mike." Karen stayed silent. First time ever. Wednesday, Tom swung by, grinning. "She's telling people she's reassessing her options." Translation, "She's out of moves." I laughed, tossing Max a treat. "She can reassess all she wants. We're done here." A week later, I caught her peeking out her window, staring at the garden. I waved, big and friendly. She yanked the curtain shut. That's when I knew I'd won, not just the land, but the war. The neighborhood was Team Max, and Karen was yesterday's news. I kept the garden pristine, added a birdhouse, even partly for me, mostly to keep her twitching. Every dog walk, Max sniffed it proudly, like he knew he'd started it all. So here I am, months later, still chuckling at the memory. Max is sprawled on the couch, dreaming of his next adventure, and I'm on the porch, watching the marigolds sway. Karen's quiet now, but I catch her glares sometimes, harmless, defeated. This little strip of land, this feud, it's a story for the ages. And it all started with one perfect P. Write in the comments, how would you act in such a situation? Whose side are you on, mine or Karen's?